Alright, I'm making sure the audio is good. Looks like it is. We're just gonna continue on. So we're working on CSS Flexbox. Now we're on step 12. So we're just gonna be continuing on CSS for now. Alright, so Flexbox has a main and cross axis. The main axis is defined by the flex direction property, which has 4 possible values. Okay. I forget what it's called, but it's like it's kind of like a compass, like north, south, east, and west, I guess. So row default, the horizontal axis with flex items from left to right. Okay. Then row reverse, the horizontal axis items from right to left. Column, the vertical axis with flex items from top to bottom. Column reverse, the vertical axis, thus top and down, with flex items from bottom to top. Note the axes and directions will be different depending on the next direction. The values shown are for a left to right text direction. Okay. Try the different values to see how they affect the layout. When you are done, set an explicit flex direction of row on the .gallery element. Okay, so here's a .gallery element. Just trying to scroll down. So let's see, flex direction. Row. I think that's what it wanted us to do. Let's kind of see how it affects the layout. Let's, kind of not noticing a difference. I'm not sure if we did something wrong. Okay. Because I'm looking at the text. So this is a result. And this is with the property. Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't really notice a difference. Not gonna lie. The flex wrap property determines how your flex items behave when the flex container is too small. Set it to wrap. So the flex wrap property setting it to wrap will allow the items to wrap to the next row or column. Now wrap default will prevent your items from wrapping and shrink them if needed. So I'll say so no wrap prevents it from wrapping. And wrap makes it wrap So as you see, it kind of wraps, meaning it goes to the next one and then spills to the next one. So you can just scroll down with the limited space you have. So if we increase the amount of space, then okay, now look, it can allow 2. Now look, it can allow 3. Because we're giving it more space, so it always is dependent on that. But if I were to say no wrap, we can get back to the code. Hold on. Oh, it's up here. Basically putting a no in front of it. Now, kind of no matter what, you kind of get that horizontal result where it'll always go from, like, it'll never wrap, I guess. I mean, I've explained what wrapping is. But it wanted us to wrap, so we're gonna wrap. Congratulations, your code passes, okay? Then we're on step 14. The justify content property determines how the items inside the flex container are positioned along the main axis, affecting their position and the space around them. Give your .gallery selector a justify content property with center as a value. Okay, justify content property determines how the items inside a flex container are positioned along the main axis, affecting their position and the space around them. Give your .gallery selector a justify content property with center as value. Okay, so let's try it out. So I think before, yeah, it put it to the center. Hold on. So if you notice, now it's to the left. The picture is to the left. And now it's to the center. The align items property positions the flex content along the cross axis. In this case, with your flex direction set to row, your cross axis would be vertical. To vertically center your images, give your .gallery selector an align items property with center as a value. Oh, one sec. Align items. To vertically center your images, give your .gallery selector an align items property with center as a value. I'll do it, but I kind of thought it did that with to vertically center your images. Oh, to vertically center your images. So it's already horizontally centered. So justify content vertically centers it. Wait, hold on. I think I did notice something. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but basically just out of justify content, it showed it being centered vertically. This would, or horizontally rather, this centers it vertically. Snare it to 15. The code passes. Step 16, give your dot gallery selector a padding property set to 2010. All right. To create some space around the container. Then give it a max width of 1400. And add a margin of 0 auto, which would center it. All right. So now it kind of makes it so that if you notice now there's space kind of around the images where before there wasn't. If I get rid of that code, see now you notice it's right up against the border right there, the first picture. But now when I put that code in, padding, it gives it padding. Now dot gallery images, that means images in the dot gallery class. So it's not only needs to have a class gallery, but it needs to be an image. So notice how your images have become distorted. This is because the images have different aspect ratios. Rather than setting each aspect ratio individually, you can use the object fit property to determine how images should behave. Give your dot gallery image selector the object fit property. All right. Let's see, are they distorted? Let's kind of look at this distortion to see if we notice anything. I'm kind of not great at determining if there's a distortion. I mean, some of the pictures kind of look a little long than I would think. It's kind of hard to tell, but let's use the property that they want us to use. This will tell the image to fill the image container while maintaining aspect ratio, resulting in cropping to fit. So basically, it kind of says no matter how it's coded, it'll always make it kind of look good. It'll make it be in the same ratio and proportions that the original image is. So I think it wasn't actually that distorted to begin with. I mean, they kind of said notice how distorted it is. It didn't really look that distorted. But this will kind of, I guess, make sure that it's not distorted. Your images need space between them. The gap shorthand property sets the gaps, also known as gutters, between rows and columns. The gap property and its row gap and column gap subproperties provide this functionality for flex, grid, and multi-column layout. If you apply the property to the container element, give your dot gallery flex container a gap property with 16 pixels as value. So I think it's like an in-between property, so it doesn't really speak to around each between, because like the other property would kind of be generic to any property, where it's like giving it padding, for example, would say, hey, you can't go anywhere near this element. It's like a restraining order, kind of like you can't go anywhere near this element. But with this, it's kind of like an in between thing. So in between these elements. But let's just check it out. Okay, so notice now there's a gap between each image. There's now a gap. There's that white line right there. And, you kind of want that. I mean, you don't like before it kind of looked like it was all together. Like, I'll just get rid of it. I mean, that doesn't really look good. Having all of them mushed together like that. That's not a good presentation. But now it kind of looks more better with design. So it's literally means gap. Let's see if the code checks out. It's saying, congratulations, your code passes. Submit your code to continue. Smooth out your images a bit by giving it the dot gallery image selector, a border radius. Okay, a border radius property with 10 pixels set as a value. Okay, let's just see what that is. Oh, so I remember border radius. So that'll just, well, I know what that'll do. I remember. That'll make the images, if you remember, more round. So instead of like square images, they'll be kind of more, the higher that radius property gets, the more circular it'll be. So let's find out what it'll look like. These images will look like these square images with edges. Look after the property. So it'll look more round. All right, right there. So now see that roundness right there. I don't know if it's letting me zoom in, but that roundness, is kind of what I'm referring to. So that's kind of the effect. So now it looks a lot better. I mean, you have gaps in between. You have kind of more round edges. It looks like there was some. It's kind of like it looks like there's some care put into it. That's why I guess it's like, it's kind of difference between like maybe an empty room and a cleaned up room. It kind of shows like it's well put together. But let's see if the code passes. The code should pass. Congratulations, your code passes. Submit your code to continue. All right. The after pseudo element creates an element that is the last child of the selected element. You can use it to add an empty element after the last image. If you give it the same width as the images, it'll push the last image to the left when the gallery is in a 2-column layout. Right now it is in the center because you set justify content center on the flex container. Okay. Alright, this is a little bit what a concept here. Yeah, let's just see how much progress we're making. So we're at let's see, we're at it's not letting me scroll up really. It's this one. We're at step 20, it looks like. We're at step 20. Kind of take a step back to see how much progress we made. So, for this, we only have 2 more. I didn't realize we were almost done. Yeah, so we're definitely going to finish it. and probably just finish it, and you know, and then gonna go into this. I guess it's released to more styling text, and then I guess the accessibility tools kind of pertain more for like people that well, just in general. I mean, there could be blind people, deaf people. I recently saw a video where it showed like how a blind person needs to navigate a phone, because you kind of would think that a blind person just can't use a phone, but what happens is, and it's a really annoying property I actually accidentally set, but it's a property where basically the phone talks to you and it tells you kind of what's going on, and if you're not blind and you don't know how to use it, I don't recommend it. But for blind people, it's very useful because they can actually use a phone like we do. You know, no kinds of things. So within that, there's kind of concepts to learn for web pages. So it's kind of quite a bit right there. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. And yeah, then there's a project, but we're kind of making a dent. It's a big CSS concept. Within all this, I kind of want to get into programming and stuff too, like object-oriented programming. And things like that. But yeah, let's just kind of finish up. Let's kind of finish up this, and then we'll do another recap, I guess. Yeah, so we already did this, but border radius. Yeah, we did this. The after pseudo element creates an element that is the last child. Alright, so let's create a new selector using an after pseudo element on the dot gallery element. Oh, okay, hold on. Oh, dot gallery. Okay, I thought it already did that for us. So we have dot gallery, right? After. Now this is all the code that's going to style it. So pseudo element on the gallery element, added content property set to an empty string, okay, and 350 for the width, 350 pixels. Alright, the code does pass. I want to notice a difference though. Was there a difference, or is it using a new selector using the after pseudo element on the gallery? Kind of want to understand a bit. The after pseudo element creates an element that is the last child of the selected element. You can use it to add an empty element after the last image. So I guess right here, I think what's true is there's more of a gap than there usually would. But actually, I think it doesn't apply because there is no selected image. If you give it the same width as the images, it'll push the last image to the left when the gallery is in a 2-column layout. Right now, it is in the center because you set it justify content centered on the flex container. So we're not going to notice a difference, I guess. So yeah, I guess later on, I'll try to make this concept more clear, but I don't think here we're going to notice a difference because we're not supposed to. But it pertains to the last selected image. And I believe this is the last step. The alt image attribute. Alright, I do know what this is. I did learn this before all this. That I know that puts text kind of where the image would go, and if my guess is correct, it's kind of for that accessibility reason, where it's like, let's say it's a blind person, instead of the image, they'll get a description of the image. So that's how it's useful. So when the image doesn't either, and also if the image doesn't load, the image could just be a broken link, and then it'll just say whatever you want it to say as an alternative, right? To complete the project, add an alt attribute to all 9 of your cat images to describe them. Use a value at least 5 characters long for each. Okay. I'll just say cat pic picture 1, and I'll just copy and paste it until the end, because it's not telling us what to say, it's just telling us to say something. So just copy three, 4, 5, scroll down, 6. So if the image doesn't load, or let's say the person is in accessibility mode, it'll read this cat picture 7. See if that worked. Is that what it wanted? All right, congratulations, your code passes. Submit your code to continue. So, so we can submit it. Now we're done with that module. Been only on for 28 minutes, but yeah. So, kind of a step back. The next thing is going to be more styling text. Things like that. So I guess on a nutrition label, there would be more, like it would matter the styling of the text to mean different things. Then accessibility, and then this will be something I'm gonna work on and put on GitHub. Again, just like last time. And then I'm gonna try to use the understanding that I kind of had, that I kind of built, to kind of apply it to the other ones, to kind of revisit the older code and just see if maybe I have a better understanding by kind of having more insight to the older code and understanding it. Because when we saw that we saw how it's supposed to look, we found out there's a bunch of things in the style sheet, and then maybe there could be an understanding of that code, and how to make that code, kind of at least understanding that code. Yeah, and that's kind of my plan. I plan to kind of do kind of combination of this and programming, object-oriented programming, until that's done, and then try to go to JavaScript. So yeah, that's going to be it.